have it on my ear. I prefer to have it, I have it on my steering wheel right now. I don't even like to touch it. I feel the frequency. I'm really sensitive. Anyway, what's going on with you? Why are you talking about dying sometime soon? What's happening?
I never said anything about dying.
Well, you wrote something in case you are not living for very long or something like that.
No, I said I'm departing, I'm leaving.
You mean departing this incarnation?
I'm considering that one, yeah. That offer is on the table also.
How do you mean that offer is on the table? You're too young for that.
No, I know people who can get me off the planet.
Pardon me?
I said I know people who can get me off the planet.
You know people that can get you what?
Off the planet. How many times do I have to say the same thing over and over again?
Well, I couldn't understand it. I'm sorry.
It's because you have me on a speakerphone.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yes, of course we can depart our incarnation, or we can be on a different planet. But you incarnated on this planet for a reason. Otherwise, you would have gone to a different planet right away.
Yeah, but I've already served my purpose here.
Are you sure about that?
Well, unless it's to, do a crucifixion or something, or wait until they find a new way to try and kill me. It's probably a good idea I get out of here. There's been too many attempts on my life.
Yeah, I mean, you're very outspoken. I understand, I mean, I had certain situations myself. I totally understand, but...
well, there's a difference between being outspoken and blowing the whistle on complete, unmitigated bullshit and lies.
Right.
I'm not being outspoken, I'm blowing the whistle.
I have been doing that as well. I have been approached to take things off my Facebook page. I put those kind of things in notes. And they are very clear to the point, Your information sometimes is very long. It's like really, really, really long. I do my best to keep things as concise as possible.
Well, we each have our own way of doing things.
And that's very true. Yeah, I totally agree. So you are still in the LA area. You still live in the LA area?
Yeah, I've just been living off grid thanks to the Department of Justice and State Department and other assholes who love me so much.
You have been living off grid?
Yeah. At their request.
Pardon me?
At their request. They actually wanted me to get out of the country about 5 years ago.
I see, okay. Well, I mean, I understand, I totally understand.
I don't. I actually don't. I don't understand how my government got so fucked up that they can rectally violate me and then expect me to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, well, you're not the only one. I mean, there are some good people on this planet that are doing that, and it is challenging.
But a lot of them are government employees, so that makes them property. I've never been a government employee. I've been a government contractor.
Right.
Which does not give them the right to do some of the things that they did do, but, good luck fighting the Department of Justice, the FBI, and some of these other assholes who abuse power.
Yeah, I mean, I know, I understand. There has been a lot of that, and there have been some really good whistleblowers that have exposed details. If it's about the war on drugs, and I mean, there's a lot of bullshit. And again, you call it government, I mean, I don't even know if I want to call it government. These are individuals that take the liberty to do certain things that are not ethical. And I believe in karma. I believe in cause and effect throughout space and time. So anybody who does things that they shouldn't be doing, that, creates negative karma, they're going to have to fix that no matter what. And if they don't do that in this lifetime, they're going to have to do that in other lifetimes or incarnations or whatever you want to call that. So that's why I do my very best not to do anything that creates karma, negative karma.
Well, the downside of that is, however, this is extinction number 7 alone on this planet. And I'm not coming back for 8. I'm done with this. I'm done with the sewage of people who think it's their God-given right to destroy everything and control who lives, who dies, who's entitled, who's not. I'm tired of this God complex, and it's not a few people going rogue. It's very well organized backdoor governments marching towards one world order. Are you not aware of the Georgia Guidestones?
I am very much aware about that. I have a note on Facebook about the Georgia Guidestones, about the World Bank, about Agenda UN Agenda 51, I believe. I think it's like Area 51, right? UN Agenda, population control, depopulation. I'm aware about the 30,000 guillotines. I have all of those things on my Facebook page. I have been exposing that as well, and I have been approached to work for them and to take that off my page.
To work for who? From which ones? The Illuminati? For the CIA? For who?
Apparently at the very, 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 very top. And the top is 300 very wealthy, influential people and their families. And
right, it's the Illuminati. It's the Illuminati. It's the Illuminati.
It's the top of the Illuminati, not just the Illuminati, not just the 300. It's the very top of those.
Right, you'd be working for the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers directly.
Supposedly it was one person that is part of the table of the 13 that approached me. That's how serious they take it.
Oh, I know they do. I've been approached many times. I've been to the Rothschild estate. I was dating a Rothschild until I made it clear I wasn't playing this ball game.
One thing we all need to realize, every being throughout the universe or multiverse, enlightenment is at the highest level of consciousness. And what you are saying, your entire frustration, I understand it, but what you need to understand, what everybody needs to understand, every being needs to understand, enlightenment is at the highest level of consciousness, not somewhere at the bottom or at the middle. These people that you're talking about that are doing what they are doing, they are absolutely most certainly not enlightened, or they would not be doing that. They are on some sort of a level of consciousness where they allow themselves to do those things. If they would be at a higher level of consciousness, they would not be doing that, because they would know with every part of their being, if we call that cell or DNA or, soul or a cluster of consciousness, they would know not to do that, but they don't, and that's why they do this. That's why they think it's okay and they can get away with it. No matter what, nobody gets away with that. We never, ever, ever get away with what we do. Everything has a cause and an effect, and effects can be compounding. And they can be compounding, and they are compounding not only in one incarnation. There can be. Do you hear me?
I'm listening.
Okay, something just made a sound here. So that is really important for you to understand. If you feel frustrated, always remind yourself, enlightenment is at the highest level of consciousness. So just to let you know, I was born on June 21st. That is the one day of the entire year with the most light hours of the day. And there's a reason for that. So there is a certain day that we are conceived, and then there's a certain day that we are born. So I was born on June 21st, which is the beginning of summer, and it is also the longest daylight hours of the entire year. Born in the northern hemisphere, of course. I was born in Germany, in Hamburg, Germany, in the northern hemisphere. So I'm just sharing that with you because, again, there are a lot of signs. There is letterology, there is numerology, there are all kinds of signs and synchronicities, how people meet, what is happening in their life. So, and again, I have, with my business partner, we have 27 feature films to produce and 881 TV episodes. I was born in 1966, which is exactly the year when Star Trek came out. Exactly. Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek came out in 1966. I was born in 1966. So anyway, you mentioned extraterrestrials. I have had that following my entire life as well. I would prefer to discuss that in person and not over the phone, but we just have the phone right now, you know. So when you get frustrated and you feel like you want to depart, one thing we need to remember, we do incarnate on a certain planet at a certain time for certain reasons, and we have, you know, our brain, our memory is designed that we do forget a lot of things when we incarnate. I happen to have a lot of memory, you know, from the time I was in my mom's womb. I also had, you know, encounters from the time I was 4 years of age up to 13, you know, specific kind of education that is not just earthly education. So things happen for certain reasons.
Could you be talking about mysticism?
Pardon me?
Are you talking about mysticism?
I'm not talking about mysticism. Mystic is only what we don't understand. Whatever it is we understand is not mystic, obviously.
So you know, what was it? What was this formalized special training?
Pardon me?
What was this formalized special training?
It was okay. Number one training was health. The number one training was health. That's, you know, when I met with you at that house in Hillcrest. No. Where did I meet? Highland Park. And you lived in Highland Park. You know, I came to your house and I was communicating to you about. So health was the number one, because it is a lot easier to succeed with our purpose if we have a healthy body. But then again, it depends. Certain incarnations are purposefully, you know, for the understanding of disability, of limited movement. You know, for my incarnation, I needed to take good care of my body. I was educated in health, in all kinds of health, in natural health, in computer science, in electronic. You know, that's part of why I was a key account distribution manager in Germany. I distributed IBM mainframes, you know, up until my son was born. So, and they did make that almost impossible for females. You know, they didn't think we are strong enough, smart enough to negotiate and close multi-million-dollar deals, which I have. You know, I have done that for a little bit more than 10 years. So anyway, no, not mysticism. Mystic or mysterious is only what we don't understand. Whatever we do understand is not mysterious or mystic. So that's why I kept on saying enlightenment, light. It has the word light in it. Enlightenment is at the highest level of consciousness. So you need to understand that when you deal with these people that are doing things that are not okay. And I agree with you. I have seen many things that you have sent out and forwarded. And I can only agree with you. You know, there are many things that are happening on this planet and on many other planets that are not okay. But they are done by people or by beings, humanoid beings or beings that do not have the highest level of consciousness. They are not enlightened. That's why they do that. They are at a certain level of consciousness, and we need to understand that and have some sort of empathy, because, you know, whoever is enlightened has the highest amount of empathy. And with that comes making a lot of experience. You can only have a huge amount of understanding and empathy and reach the level of enlightenment if you have a huge amount of experience. So again, it depends with an incarnation what people set out to incarnate for. You know, what is the purpose of an incarnation? But that's why I was wondering, you know, when you are talking about departing this incarnation or departing this planet, I cannot determine if you fulfilled your purpose. If you know that for sure, that you fulfilled your purpose, I mean, then you basically can do anything you want. You know, I do agree with that. And if you die, if they kill you or anybody, if anything happens, so then you should have the knowledge how to ascend immediately and to incarnate almost instantly. And you can even incarnate, you know, you can reincarnate into a person that is almost ready to die. You can take over that body. And I don't mean possession. I don't mean that. You know, there are different ways of doing that. So I know that for myself. If I'm going to be assassinated, killed, murdered, whatever, I know exactly how to upload my memory immediately to the universal database and to reincarnate. You know, that's why I'm fairly unafraid of death, because I understand how that works.
I don't fear death. In this lifetime alone, I've died and come back several times, documented.
Right.
And I know aliens who are on this planet from other planets.
Right.
And we've talked about, we're at a point in this evolution where the United Federation is at a point where we're all kind of in agreement. There's few fallen angels left to try and retrieve, but we're near the fracture point. They've already set the time to do the Doomsday Monument. There's some other projects you haven't mentioned, which I think you're probably unaware of. Are you aware of HARP?
Of course I'm aware of HARP.
Are you aware of Plantex?
No, I'm not aware of Plantex.
Okay, Plantex plant in Amarillo, Texas, 20 miles deep, 60 miles wide, builds every weapon of defense for every country, tells you the weapons they build for each country, or arsenics or whatever, on the site. It's fucking ridiculous. Also, how about CERN, C-E-R-N?
Say it again?
CERN, C-E-R-N.
Oh, CERN, yes, in Switzerland, the main installation in Switzerland. Yes, I'm aware about CERN and the huge amount of mess what they are doing with CERN.
What about the real Jason Bourne project?
Okay, I didn't understand it. Say it again.
The real Jason Bourne project.
Oh, okay. The what project?
Listen carefully, please, because I hate repeating myself, and I've been saying it as loud as I can without screaming. The real Jason Bourne project, like the movie Jason Bourne.
Okay, now I understood what you said. Okay. Yeah, the Blackbriar. I think a lot of those names that
No, you don't know about this project. Clearly, by the way, you just answered it. You should Google it. It started in 1953. It's still going on.
Well, I mean, the Jason Bourne movies were based on that.
I'm saying if you Google it, you'll find out a lot more intel. It is a real project. I met 7 people from that project in the last week alone who have found me.
Okay, so you're talking about MK Ultra, the Delta programming, or what exactly are you talking about?
I need you to look at it. I'm not going to break down the whole thing right now. There's too much to cover. You've covered some.
Okay, well,
covered some areas.
I have no problem to look at anything.
Okay,
you know,
and I've also published a lot of this in that plethora of stuff that you say I put out too much information. The reason I'm disseminating so much information is because my time here is running out. One way or the other, I will be gone before Armageddon, which is coming very rapidly. And this country's on the verge of going into martial law any time now. And I don't want to be here when they go to martial law. So I'm getting passports ready and getting travel plans ready and getting out of the country and meeting with people who work in Interstellar to figure out the best exit plan if a few of us got to get off this rock quick.
Right. Well, I mean, you do understand ascension, right?
Not interested in that for what I need to do in my next chapter. That's not what I need to do. I need to go to the next galaxy over. I don't need to ascend to another galaxy and descend into another galaxy.
Right.
There's too many complications with it. It's how much do you know about the Akashic Records? And there's obviously a lot more about mysticism than you understand, because with mysticism comes time jumping.
Database or the Akashic Records, I know very well, and I have access to quite a bit. I don't have access to all of it.
Okay, and as I was saying, as you started talking, I said, and you truly don't understand mysticism, because with the art of mysticism comes time jumping.
Okay, but like I told you, it is only mystic or mysterious as long as you don't understand it.
That's not true. That's not true.
It's not mystic anymore.
That's not true. It's mystic to those who don't understand it. It's not mystic to us who actually do it and can jump time and change things.
Right.
Do you know how to jump time?
I have done a lot of that. Yeah, I do time and space and planets I can only do it if it serves a certain purpose. Because I do have a certain purpose on this planet, and I'm living my purpose.
Well, I don't know what your purpose is, but I know if you're doing it right, one of the golden rules of time jumping, unless you're from the dark side, is you don't play God and you don't force your way. You try to influence people to make the right decisions and not the same mistakes again, but you're not allowed to correct their mistakes.
I absolutely agree with you. We are not allowed to
Ever.
do that against their will. I absolutely agree with you.
Ever, never, never. That's the golden rule I tell everyone how I teach it to time jump. You do not, and if you die in that dimension, you'll die here, unless you know how to reincarnate in that dimension so you can get back here. You're fucked. Now, you can die in this dimension and still come back to life, but again, you have to know how to do that.
Exactly.
It's an art. It's not something that you just jump into.
I agree.
First time you're drowned, electrocuted, overdosed, pronounced dead, found on a beach. Yeah, it takes a little work. You don't just, hey, I'm going to get back up now. There's a lot we can talk about. Unfortunately, they've circumcised me that for the last 4 years, 5 years, I have been robbed and beaten almost on a daily basis, sometimes multiple times a day. My cars, both of them have been stolen. I can't find them. I have gone through as many as 60 cell phones last month alone. So keeping in touch is real sketchy because I got to stay off grid a lot. Because when I go on grid, it makes it a lot easier for them to find me. And so I do a lot of shit on the run. And I'm also trying to get out of here. And I don't have a way to get up to you because I don't have transportation right now.
Okay,
so if you want to swoop down and pick me up and we can spend a couple of days, great. I am talking to people about other areas of the country that I'm supposed to get to have meetings. Maybe I can get them to come to California. I don't know, but we're trying to get a few people together and figure out, are we going to continue work on this concert for world peace? Or is it a complete waste of time right now because we can't get enough support to pull it off in time? And nobody seems to really give a shit anyway.
Well, again, everything is different levels of consciousness. Everything has different levels. And as I mentioned, the enlightenment is at the highest level of consciousness. I'm going to send you the image.
Unfortunately, most of the people on this planet are so fucking stupid they don't even know what day it is. They're not enlightened, they're sheeple.
That is true, but that's not only on this planet. That is on many other planets as well.
Oh yeah, but this is one we're focused on.
Right. This is what this incarnation is about. I understand. That's why I'm not, doing an effort just to leave this planet. I had those thoughts, occasionally, but again...
Well, you're welcome to stay through Armageddon if you want to do all the fire and brimstone shit. I'm just tired of it. After 6 other times, I don't need to do it a 7th time.
Yeah, but then again, star seeds have a higher purpose than other beings. And again, even for star seeds need to work on the highest level of enlightenment.
I know what my purpose is here. I've already done it, as I've told you before. I've done what I came here to do. I've gotten the message out. I've made every effort. But my deal was I didn't have to stay through Armageddon. Because I can ignite Armageddon and not even be here. And it's already set to do that. See, where they're going to fuck up this time around is they actually think they're going to preserve 200 million and put them underground in air-controlled situations and water control. And they're going to push all these buttons, and everybody else is going to get fucked, and they'll survive.
Yeah, I understand.
Where they fail to calculate this time is that we put something in the machine this time that it'll melt this thing right to the core if they decide to go to Armageddon. That's why I'm even leaking that information. Guys, remember how much code I've written? You realize how much intel I've written? And when you write over my intel, I still have the root keys, so I'm not hacking when I go in because you clicked I agree. There are ways I can go in and track anybody in any intel base around the world.
Right.
Because I did write the code for SSL encryption for credit cards on the internet. I am the guy who helped develop voice over IP and all the audio, video surveillance and audio encryption stuff they're doing for television, film, and for surveillance. So I know this shit better than probably most.
Well, I know for a while, Kurt, that you and I were supposed to meet, and we were supposed to meet a little bit more often, but somehow your situation did not seem to allow that.
No, not when you got people breaking into your house and getting calls from the State Department saying the White House says to shut the fuck up about this or they're going to discredit or kill you and you need to get off grid. But you've been the best American humanitarian patriot in the country history, and we were privately giving you your accommodation. However, publicly you will be disgraced if you don't shut up about the Russian hack, because the hack happened well before the election. If you Google Kurt Kelly Intel hack, it'll show you in 2014 I alerted the White House that global Intel had been hacked. Once you hack global Intel, you can fuck with anybody's elections. That's how they fucked with France and everybody else's election, because they had already hacked their global Intel.
Right. Well, when you say, you were told by the White House, again, let's always break it down. It is people.
Literally by the White House, by people in the White House that were ordered by Obama to tell me to shut the fuck up about this. What they forget, though, is I'm not a government employee. So a stand-down order technically doesn't apply to me. It also can get me killed if I don't. You know what a stand-down order is in our government?
Okay, again, Kurt, what I said earlier, we are talking about people, we are talking about individuals, we are talking about beings.
We're talking about a private cult. It's not a couple of people. This is a cult.
Good. The word government is something where you can bunch a whole bunch of people in. The word White House, same thing. It's a term. It's an overall term. But individually, throughout the universe, throughout the multiverse, every single being is striving towards enlightenment. And at the level of enlightenment, these beings would not be doing what they are doing. Once you reach the level of enlightenment, you do not hurt other beings.
Well, I disagree, because there are people who are enlightened, however, feel that they are greater than God, and they are evil, and they feel evil will win in the end against good. And
they are not
it doesn't matter what you believe, darling, and I don't want to argue about it. I'm telling you, these people feel they're highly enlightened, and to even hear you talk that way, they think you're psychobabble.
They enlightened. That doesn't mean that the universe agrees that they are enlightened.
Well, they are enlightened with the dark side and the negative energy. They're the problem. They're the cancer. They are enlightened with the germ, the virus. They're not enlightened that there's a better way, because they've already defied that, or we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
I don't think that you use the word enlighten correctly. I understand what you mean with the light side and the dark side.
I'm trying to simplify it so we can get past this, because there's so much more important stuff to cover. I don't want to debate the semantics. If you need a debate, this is not the time I have energy or time for a debate. I'm just trying to schedule a time if you'd like to get together and talk offline, because we're already putting a lot of stuff out there. And we can, but realize when you come pick me up and go to your place, they're going to be following you and know exactly where you live.
They know exactly where I live. Are you kidding me or something? At any given time.
I don't know what your clearance level is. I don't know what you've done in the past, so I don't assume anything. I know what I've done, and I know why I have the headaches I have, because of the government intel I've done for every government on this planet when they needed a voice in English to read shit. So I know what everybody's got and how many ways they can kill me and how their people are trained to kill me. I don't know what your experience is, but I just want to throw out something quick and mystical for you. I had someone bring to me recently a official in mint condition 1944 World War II from the War Office map of Europe, Germany, and Poland area of World War II, with all the markings of what each of the buildings were on the map. I thought you might find that fascinating. Which, by the way, then if you study those landmarks and GPS them, regardless of what they put over it, then you know where the underground tunnels and cities are, if you knew which were the entrances to get there. In case of World War III and you happen to be in Germany, you'll know where to duck out.
I know a lot about these underground tunnels, not personally, but from people that have exposed them and have given exact direct locations.
Oh, I've been in many of these underground cities. They're in every major city around the world. They're in New York, they're in D.C., they're here. If you ever want to go to the underground, I can take you there. I've been down very deep.
Yeah, I understand. No, I
Miles
understand.
deep.
There are certain connections where they are big enough that you can take, vehicles. I mean,
Oh
you
no,
don't.
there's whole underground cities. As I said, plant is 20 miles deep, 60 miles wide as an underground city. It's a 60-mile wide city, 20 miles
Mhm.
under the earth.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
people actually live down there.
yeah, I understand. I know a lot of these things, Kurt, because again, this is not my first time on planet Earth.
Okay, so what's your goal here? Are you going to stay all the way through the end, or you think you're going to avert it this time and there won't be Armageddon? The way it's looking right now, Armageddon and World War III are just blinks away. But if you know, I've been trying to do this concept for world peace, but it's going to cost about $4.5 billion to pull it off, and it'll make billions beyond that, if not trillions, because of all the rights and royalties. But I'm not going to subsidize the whole thing myself. I already did rock for the Americans, several other these with the UN, ended up being on the hook for everything myself. And so far, I've thrown out a lot of information and have encouraged people to jump aboard and help, and sponsorship, and even have talked to companies about it. Everybody's interested, but nobody seems to be putting forth too many wooden nickels. I mean, there are some people privately helping me on the side, so I stay afloat. But aside from that, there's not enough to pull off a concert for world peace. And I don't have any children. I don't have any family vested interest that I have to bust my ass for the concert if the world doesn't even give a shit about peace. They're that apathetic that they'll let war happen again.
Kurt, you have some very good concepts, and then I am finding some things missing. Again, we always have to break everything down for individual beings, because even throughout the universal confederation or multiversal confederation, it is all individual beings or cluster of consciousness, which is a being or a soul. So again, we can dwell on this planet or the White House or the government. The key is that we understand that that enlightenment is at the highest level of consciousness, and beings that are at that consciousness level, they would not hurt other beings. They would not. So
I challenge you on that one. I disagree. If it came down to him
you
or...
can challenge me on
hang
that
on, let
one
me finish my
forever
thought.
and
Hang
ever and
on.
ever and ever.
Whoa, hang on. Let me finish the thought. If it came down to him or me, what's it going to be? I'm not going to stand there and die because some asshole who's deranged wants to kill me. And that is enlightened also. Don't be stupid. He who blinks first can die because they're too busy being enlightened. If somebody's going to kill me and my choice is to stay alive, I'm going to stay alive whenever possible. I do better that way on the side of the grass. I smoke more grass that way too. I mean, seriously, are you going to let somebody cap your ass and say, well, I was enlightened and I didn't want to hurt him back?
I did not say anything against self-defense.
Okay, I just want, well, that's why I'm trying to get clarity, because you said enlightened people wouldn't hurt anybody. Well, that's not true. If somebody's about to kill you, you better hurt them or you're going to be dead.
Okay, yeah, but hurting other people and self-defense is different.
Well, see, but religion is so fucked up because it's an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Oh, hold it, turn the other cheek. What am I supposed to do, kick his ass or wait for him to kick mine and pray to God he doesn't kill me? That's how messed up religion has gotten people, and that's how...
My purpose is not to stand there and have people kill me. It's not my purpose. I took martial arts when I was younger.
I don't know that anybody invites you, hey, would you come and murder me today? Unless you're a meth head and want somebody to crack your ass because you're so down and out on yourself and can't get anybody to subsidize your shit.
Right.
However, death does jump out for the good people. For the good people, ask Kennedy. He didn't plan on taking the bullet, nor did Martin. But if you stand up for a cause, there are those assholes that'll make sure they put out your lights.
I understand. Again, there is cause and effect, and there is cause and compounding effect, just like a snowball rolling down the hill and picking up snow and rate and speed. And it is the same thing with karma.
Or swamp shit if you're talking about Donald Trump, who's draining the swamp right into his own bank account. And making sure we all get to drink water like Flint, Michigan. Swamp water. He's draining the swamp all right. This guy is the worst piece of shit since Attila the Hun and Hitler. Interesting, he has both of their playbooks on his bedstand at the White House wherever he travels. Such role models for a president to have. Attila the Hun and Hitler. You guys had Hitler, we have Trump. I think Trump is the Antichrist, if there ever was such a thing.
Well, there is an interesting documentary you may want to watch.
The one where he's actually one of Hitler's sons from the Argentina project, because Hitler never really died, went over to Argentina and they started cloning that little fucker.
No, that's not what I mean.
Oh, okay. Do you know about that one?
I have heard about that one. Yeah,
Okay.
I cannot say that I know, no.
Or how about, who was the guy who blew up the building in Oklahoma City, federal building, and then they put him to death publicly? Timothy McVeigh, was it? However, he's not really dead. He's in Area 51 where he can kill anybody who comes on, eat them, have sex, have any drug he wants, be tortured, but he just can't leave because they're trying to develop a super Hulk type of killer, because the more they get him pissed off and torture him, the more his gene goes even more ravage insane.
Okay, but there is gene and there is the
And there's also AI, where they have chipped these people so well that they start to kick into artificial intelligence and are like androids. And then there's a lot of them operating in public these days that appear to be humans, but when you really spend time with them, they're either reptilians or they're artificial intelligence, or there's just something not hitting the water.
But it all comes down again to the level of consciousness. And at the lower levels of consciousness, people will take disadvantage, they will take advantage of people, and they don't care if anybody is disadvantaged.
So what's your plan to stop all of this then? How do we stop this cancer that's out of control?
Like I said, I was born on June 21st, the most daylight hours of the day.
Okay, but how is that going to solve this problem? I'm asking what the solution is that I haven't presented.
Well, I have already been sharing things with you while we are talking. So we are not talking about a government that is messed up. We are not talking about a planet that is messed up. We are talking about individual beings that are lacking the consciousness that they should have. Our job is to help everybody increase consciousness. Like you said, we cannot interfere. We cannot make people do what they don't want to do. But we can educate them that whatever they do, whatever any being does, there is a cause and there is an effect.
How do you penetrate a planet with 8 billion people in less than 12 months to get them to overthrow their governments and take a new direction? I don't know that you have enough time to educate them.
But you're still talking government instead of individual people.
Well, but you have to overthrow the governments that rule the people and the religions that rule people so they can be freed. Otherwise, there's going to be a new dictator in calling the shots.
Iceland did it. Iceland did it.
You did what?
Iceland overthrew their government and the bankers.
Right. That's one country. You still have another 289 to go.
Okay, but that's a good example that it's possible.
Possible, but you also have 11 months or less to pull it off.
Well, that's what you say. I'm not going to take your word for that.
Well, if you look at the Doomsday Monument, they say this will all be done by 2020. And oh no, you're not, because you don't know the date was set for 9/19/19, do you?
There were different methods of numerologies on Earth.
I'm not asking for methods. I'm asking you to know the D-date that they've set to push a button to make this happen. That's what they've set a date.
Changed several times because they thought they will be ready and they were not.
Okay, their cutoff is 2020. It says that on their own guidestones. Their ego is not going to let them miss that deadline. It'll happen by 2020. That's a guarantee. You got Donald Trump in office and he's making a nickel off every dime. He makes billions off these bombs. Of course he's going to want to be the one to push the button in his administration because he'd still be in office.
Well, this is a level of consciousness. It is not my level of consciousness. I don't agree with it.
Okay.
I will not be part of that.
Okay, well, you may or may not agree with it, but I've seen the documents, I've seen the war plan. Whether I agree with it or not doesn't really matter. If they execute it anywhere close to the time, you're still going to be affected by it, and it trickles down to, and most best planners also pray for the best, shoot for everything in between, but also plan for the worst. So if all goes sideways, how do you recover?
Well, Kurt, you understand that we have a core being, right? You understand that every being has a core being or a cluster of consciousness, right?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah, we can dissect this, but it didn't answer my question. How do you plan to get a message through to 8 billion people in less than 11 months?
I have been bringing the message out just like you all along, and I'm
Right,
going to
but I
keep
don't
on
think I
doing
don't
that.
think we're going to do it in time by just putting it on social media. If we don't have a
Okay,
big, epic,
you are
standstill,
saying, you are
life-standing event.
saying, Kurt, you are saying I don't think. It is better to make sentences. I think. I'm
Well,
going to do
no,
it.
I don't think. I disagree completely. I think there's no way possible for us to achieve it with just social media. If we don't create an epic standstill like Live Aid event to mesmerize people and recondition their brains in very short order, this will not go the way you're hoping it will go. It will be Armageddon number 7.
Yeah, it could be.
It will be. There's no could about it. The only way this will be averted is to move the masses in a whole different directions before the crisis happens again. And we're not getting there any faster than we have the other 6 times. It's just as slow and methodical. You have to understand, I've done this already before. It's not deja vu or vujade for me. I have very vivid recollections and see things before they've already happened and know what I need to try and avert or change before I get there most of the time. That's how in tune I am. I knew from birth what my purpose was here.
Me too.
Okay, so I don't know why we're going back and forth on semantics, because that's not going to solve this problem. We can capitulate for another hour, but it doesn't get to the solution, and the solution is mandatory, or that's why I'm pulling out. I don't need to stay here, because nobody's any more organized this time or willing to pitch in any more this time than they did last time, and I'm tired of pulling the boat alone. It's not my boat to tug.
You are not pulling anything alone. There are quite a few light beings.
Doing similar stuff, but nobody's jumping in to do an epic thing together and synergizing the energy to make it one big unified message. Everybody's going their own little rogue ways, and I just don't want to be part of that chaos again. I'd rather step out and just totally vanish and go to wherever else is next, because I can't seem to get the troops to rally behind the cause, and I got them to rally behind vets and farm aids and homeless events and the war in Central America, and even stop the war for 4 days. There's a lot of things I have accomplished, but this one has been one of my biggest frustrations. That and that I've never had a happy marriage and children, but that's my own problem. That's not the world's problem.
Right.
I'm not reassigning guilt to all women because I got, the luck of the draw again that didn't work well, but I'm also tired of going round and round with people about hypothetical ideas they think might work, when if they really looked at it in all reality and stopped kidding themselves, unless everybody pulls the boat together and makes a big event that is one solid message, uniform, sending coexistence and sustainable living and recycling and green technologies, this message is lost just as much as the Titanic was, because of the arrogance and the pomposity of everybody. Well, everybody has the answers, but nobody's willing to pitch in and get building the bridge to be the bridge to solutions.
Well, Kurt, again, there are different methods. One method is stopping people from doing what they're doing, which you already know is not very successful.
It's like leading a horse to water and forcing its head in water. You could drown it.
Excuse me?
It's like taking a horse to water and then forcing its head in it. Likely you'll drown it before you'll get it to drink.
Correct. So the only one thing ultimately, it's coming again and again to what I said already multiple times. Enlightenment is at the highest level of consciousness, and we need to help people to become more and more and more enlightened, because light always saturates darkness.
Okay,
and
so
let me finish. I let you talk. Don't interrupt me.
I did, but I also have a meeting. We've been on 45 minutes. I'm trying to set a time. I told you at the beginning I didn't have a lot of time to debate this.
Very important.
Okay, then we'll have to continue. We'll have to continue at another time. I told you at the beginning I didn't have 45 minutes to an hour. I said I have a couple of minutes and we can schedule a time, and we've gone on and on. You can keep doing this, but at some point I am going to have to hang up and get back to what I was doing. I had a life in motion before we had this call. So if you can't schedule it now, let's find another time to reschedule talking about this and to get together. But I can't keep doing this right now. I have other pressing engagements that I'm going to fuck myself on if I don't get moving.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just going
Okay,
to thank
so
you,
just text me sometimes we can get together. I must go.